In the district, police responded to at least 7 separate shootings Friday and Saturday. 12 people were hurt in what appeared to mark the most violent stretch of crime in D.C. since President Trump's federal surge began back in August. News 4's Mark Segraves has details and reaction from the mayor, including why she insisted that some of those shootings were predictable.
So now today you want to talk about crime, and I want to talk about crime too, because what we saw over the weekend was unacceptable, but sadly it was predictable.
Mayor Bowser today reacting to 7 separate shootings over a 24-hour period Friday and Saturday that injured 12, including a 6-year-old boy, leaving one adult victim fighting for his life. The shootings occurred across the city, most of them Friday, and as Chief Smith detailed, many involving juveniles as both the victims and suspects.
If we go over to 50th Place, where we had the juveniles in a fight, initially the fight started at Kelly Middle School between 2 groups of females. And then what we see on video, very clear images, is a young person, a juvenile, pulling out a gun and obviously discharging the firearm. Yuma Place, what we saw in video, a real-time crime center, is really good technology. On Yuma Place, we see 5 or 6 young people coming out of one of the apartments. There is a verbal altercation, exchange of words back and forth. What we see at that point is another juvenile taking out a firearm and discharging it towards that group. Unfortunately, it hit a young lady that was sitting inside of the car. She was not an intended target. Howard Place shooting on Howard Place in Georgia Avenue, where we know based on video observation there were 2 groups, one walking east, one walking west, passing by one another. What we hear from the witness, the account, is that he saw an individual in the opposing group who looked like an individual who robbed him 2 years ago. And at that point, there was an exchange, not necessarily an exchange of gunfire. One individual from the opposing team took out his firearm and he shot at the group that was passing by him. We did recover 4 firearms at that location. And then the incident that happened on Savannah Street in particular with a 6-year-old, where there was a graze of a bullet.
Both Smith and Bowser took aim at the D.C. Council for not extending the chief's authority to implement emergency youth curfew zones as leading to some of these shootings. That authority expired at the beginning of October.
As soon as that legislation or bill failed, the very same weekend, the young people came out. They started putting flyers out and really began to precipitate in that same behavior that they had before. And it's a challenge for us because, as you know, we're short resources. So we're doing everything we can. What we need is a law, legislation, D.C. code, whatever you want to call it, in place so that young people know that they can be held accountable. Right now, they don't feel like there's any accountability, so they're starting to do the same thing all over again, and it is very frustrating.
The D.C. Council is scheduled to hold a public hearing at the end of the month on whether to extend the youth curfew zones.
Listen, to me, it's very obvious that we need it. They say they want to have a hearing so that we can say it's very obvious that we need it, so we'll do that. But then they need to pass it.
In the district, Mark Segraves, News 4.
News 4 reached out to the chair of the D.C. Council, Phil Mendelson, for reaction to the mayor's statements. His office has not yet replied.